Alright. I think we should be there, yep. So, now we have Kingdom Hearts Final Mix. I'm Dessa. I did the Saga run a few days ago, and now I'm back with a solo run. With me is Big Sid on commentary.
Hello, hello. My name is Big Sid, and we're about to see a good run. Nice fun run.
Surely. Yeah. So, KH1, it's a long enough run. We can talk about most of it as we go. But at the beginning, we'll choose beginner mode. And the other options don't matter as much. We're also playing Japanese because it's faster, so it'll be hard to read some of the things. Yeah, anyway. There's not too much to discuss before the run. I would say we can just go right ahead in 3, 2, 1, go.
All right. To start things off, Dessa did mention he's playing in Japanese. That really does saves close about 40 to 50 seconds. There's a lot of differences in all the versions that this game has been released, but the main difference is the text box that scrolls, especially in a lot of the early game, is going to go by a lot faster. So a lot of runners opt to play in Japanese.
The time save for the text box alone adds up to like 50 to 55 seconds. But English has an exclusive glitch that makes up some of that time, so in total you're looking at like around 25 seconds of time saved by playing in the Japanese version.
Yeah, and so what we did in the very beginning, the game gives us an option to pick a weapon that we want to kind of specialize in, and then we have to choose a weapon that we want to give up. And so for the speedrun, we actually picked the staff because magic is going to be our best tool throughout the game in many cases that we'll explain later. And we give up defense, the shield, because we're playing on beginner mode, and beginner actually gives us access to a lot of strength ups and defense ups and AP ups at the beginning. We don't necessarily need the defense ups because we shouldn't really be getting hit too often, but nonetheless defenses are kind of the least worry that we have throughout the run. So
Yep. And on top of magic being really good with the power and defense ups that Sid just talked about, we're just generally strong enough throughout the run, if we include those, that any extra strength we would get out of picking the sword early would be straight up wasted for anything that isn't a boss, for any boss fight, because we'll always be hitting the maximum amount of damage we could be dealing per hit anyway.
yeah, and one of the other things to kind of mention is our magic set is not really based off of levels. It's based off of how many blocks that we have. Somewhat. Mainly, that's the main source of it. So just having that extra block is gonna kind of do wonders for us, even in early game. And late game, we're gonna start to prioritize to have a lot more magic to make some things really, really, really strong later on. Alright, so there's been a lot of little tutorial things happening, but this is kind of like the first real fight. So we're kind of ambushed by a lot of the shadows that can just attack on their own will, and the whole goal is to try to really get a finisher, and that finisher, as long as it can hit a lot of them, it'll do a lot of damage. I was very
That ending was good, that beginning was not.
I was gonna say you had me in the first half. Alright, so we're gonna be doing our first menu here. Dessa's gonna be using a lot of power-ups. Yeah, we have 8 of them in the very beginning, and this is going to put us just... Our damage is going to be really well for pretty much everything for early game, and we use these defense ups that are going to make us take pretty much less damage. We use 8 of them, but the main thing is it kind of lets us almost always take 1 extra hit, which does make quite a bit of a big difference in this game because you can't get chain hit. Every time you get hit, you have there's a set time before you can get hit again. So having access to another hit really makes things just a lot safer. All right, that's the first boss done. It's not really a boss, but yeah.
Well, usually this fight does take a decent bit amount of time. Like, you would need more than 12 hits. But with all those strength ups, we just hit the damage cap on this boss right off the gate, even on level 1. Meaning that it's a really, really fast fight.
Alright, so one of the cool things about this game is, so a lot of the combat's actually very simple. We have our best tool already at the very beginning of the game, and that is just being able to jump and attack. We're going to be seeing that for about 90% of the run. Where we're going to be just pretty much jumping and attacking. However, it is much easier said than done. Especially playing this game on 60 FPS, you have a lot of access to different air combo timings. The time that you time your swings from when you first get off the ground and from when you time your first swing will make quite a big of a difference throughout the run. And some strats require certain specific timings just for them to work. But right now we're just collecting some items to build a raft because we want to leave this island. We want to be adventurous. So
don't mind the 2 or 3 movement things that I almost messed up. I almost didn't get the ledge grab. I almost didn't jump on the tree. It's fine. I know this game.
Yeah, so this game does have a lot of movement is important. It's not the most extravagant movements that you could probably see in some other games. However, with our dodge rolls that we'll be getting later, with our jumps, being able to swing to stall our height or to get onto ledges that we normally would not be able to, we're going to be seeing use of that. But right now, this is still kind of tutorial section. And yeah, we're just kind of collecting some items. There's not too much going on. I don't know if there's anything that you want to talk about ahead of time while we're just waiting.
Yeah, I guess we can go into a few specifics of what's important, especially like movement-wise in here. Of course, you have all kinds of cutscenes that you want to skip as early as possible. Every cutscene has like its own specific timing that you more or less have to memorize. A lot of them you can skip immediately. Some of them you have to wait for the screen to fade in, or like I often go by the brightness of the screen. Once it's bright enough, I know I can skip it, or some audio cues. And then a lot of time you see me chain hopping. That's another thing for movement specifically. If you land, Sora has to like catch his fall, of course. Like he lands and has a little bit of an impact on the ground. So to skip that, if we want to jump over another ledge soon after, we usually just chain jumps. That way we skip that landing lag. So there's just a lot of like smaller optimizations going on for Disney Islands, for this island segment.
So I'm pretty sure if anyone's played this as a kid, I'm sure we have many memories of doing this race and probably losing. Which, funnily enough, not only do we want to win, obviously because it's faster to win, but we do get an item that'll allow us to sell that we need later. And if you do miss that item, there are backup things you can grab, but winning this race is actually important to the run. So just something little to note. And yeah, as Dessa stated, you're going to see him jump, and then before he lands, Sora can kind of catch his fall. He's going to input another jump, and that's just going to be able to cancel that little ending lag you get from when you land. We're going to see some Thunder Thighs, Dessa.
All right, I almost forgot. Yeah. Of course. Good thing you mentioned that. You saw me having to wait a little bit. If you're fast enough in the race, you just have to wait for Riku to catch up. So there's some margin. By the way, fun little thing you can do here.
Oh, let's see it.
There's a fail safe in case you ever get stuck. Any object that is below you just shatters. Because Sora's too mighty. One too many poppy fruits.
All right.
Oh my god, that was was it stuck?
I mean, I can explain that later. But so that's actually, this whole section's kind of like I said, a main tutorial movement section. We're just collecting some items, but there's a lot of RNG on that moment right there when you're actually hitting the tree for coconuts. We can only use good coconuts, so we need the yellow ones, and it's just RNG as to when they will fall. On average, it takes about, I want to say, most runners between 6 to 8 hits. But if you're lucky, you can get it in 3 or 4. Otherwise, that's just one of the moments that can be a little toxic in this area. But otherwise, everything's pretty straightforward. I guess that's, and I know Dessa mentioned this earlier, but yeah, one of the very kind of unique things about this game is every cutscene, as Dessa mentioned, is kind of like specific. It's not like, oh, the moment a cutscene starts, you can just skip it instantly.
Mm.
Like for there, you gotta watch like for the door to start to close. There's a lot of little unique things that you can do for cutscenes, but those are just like little micro optimizations. I don't know. I guess didn't even think about it. I want to ask, how long have you like? When was the first time you did a run of this stuff? So,
Of KH1?
yeah.
I want to say September 2017.
17? Yeah, that's what I thought.
Almost 10 years for this. It's definitely
Yeah.
2017. I just don't know if it was September or August.
Oh, okay, okay.
And it must have been September. It was right around when I moved into my apartment back then. Yeah. So almost 10 years.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. This game has been out, originally came out in 2002, and there's just been so many different, every time it's been released, it's technically a different run, but for this version, the the console, and even the PC has a little bit of changes, but you know, for how long this game has been out, there's always runs of it happening, which is very nice to see. There's, even for, like I said, as old as it is, there's been a lot of different optimizations, new route changes, and yeah, I feel like this game is going to be living on for quite a bit of time.
I'm just waiting for the PS6 release when they add
Don't say
some
that.
new crazy thing that'll change everything. Permanent damage storage or something like that.
Alright, so... Well, we're now out of the island. We're in our first world. This is still kind of tutorial-esque based. Right now, we kind of got separated. We don't know where we are. We're in a brand new world, and we're finding some strange creatures that we saw on the island, and there's still just a lot of questions. Now, this section, most people, I feel like, again, when you first play this game, people just kind of go exploring, killing enemies, but you only have to actually kill up to 5 enemies. So we just kind of get one swing, and then whatever we didn't kill, we kind of clean up on the next room. And once you get 5 swings, it actually progresses cutscene to happen when you enter the accessory shop. And once you leave, you can actually end up coming into a new fight, which you actually have the option to win or lose. In this category, we do opt to win. Takes, I don't remember the number of turns. However, yeah, we're still doing damage cap pretty much. Yeah, I was about to say I think it's 12. We're pretty much still doing damage cap at this point, so as long as we can just kind of well hit, we can actually do a lot of damage. And when Dessa was saying that we hit the damage cap earlier in bosses, this game actually does not let you get too strong and allow you to just one-shot things. So eventually, you do have a moment where that's kind of easy to hit a lot, and especially with the speedrun, where you're not allowed to do any more damage. But this allows us to do empty combos. I kind of use that phrase a little loosely, but every combo at the start has a base 3-hit meter, or not meter, but 3-hit string. And so as long, sometimes it's not worth to do the finisher because we could just chain 2-hit strings, and that'll actually allow us to do more damage.
What am I doing?
These guys are very nimble, I see.
Yeah, it was all them. They were dancing.
Listen, I'm dancing when I hear this song too. I don't blame you.
But yeah, usually, I guess to pick up on that, finishers are usually supposed to be stronger hits, but because we already hit the damage cap, it's just not worth finishing your combo and having a long animation. You'd rather just pick up your combo again, because it's faster to do 2 hits of 2 separate combos than the full combo. Wow,
Oh.
he jumped right into that.
That was... Yeah, I was gonna say, we got to see Dessa actually using a target swap to when he did his finisher to target another enemy, and that allowed it to connect without having to drop another combo. Because the finisher alone was actually strong enough to kill the enemy, otherwise we would have needed 2 separate hits. Now, we actually killed those enemies, so we would actually hit level 6 before entering this fight, which would allow us to do more damage, and, you know, allow us to hit damage cap on this fight. But once we break the parts, we just gotta wait for him to kind of flip around a few times. Once he starts moving, we do a combo, we finish the fight, and that's it. And as long as Donald was nice and Goofy was a good good dog. He would not have thrown his ether, which we're going to be taking just in the next moment.
There are ways to back that ether up as well, but of course, we'd rather not. To reiterate from earlier, so yeah, we're playing on a Japanese version specifically because that version is faster. There are a lot of very small changes, like for example, for one boss fight, there's a fade in the English version, while in the Japanese version, it just immediately goes into the fight. But it's mostly just the text boxes. They scroll way faster in the Japanese version, so we opt to play on Japanese. There's an international exclusive glitch that you can do, which offsets some of that difference, but for the most part, we just go Japanese because it's, in the end, faster. Whoa, wait, no, that was correct. Don't you... Talking too much.
Okay, I was gonna, well, I'll wait while Des is menu. Okay, so one of the funny things I was gonna say, it took me many years to actually recognize this. So when we finally get Donald and Goofy in our party, they kind of give us some things to help us out when we first start. But I found it funny that, kind of ironic, that Goofy teaches us how to roll. And normally it's the other way around. We normally teach dogs how to roll. But
true.
That's beside the point. So, well, yeah, it randomly hit me, and I was like, "Oh my god!" But what we just saw there was Des actually entered the gummy menu. He got rid of the default ship because it has a lot of parts, and that actually makes it have a lot of weight, which makes us move slower. So Dessa kind of opted to just completely restart, add a cockpit and an engine, and that's all we need. You can add a gun. It typically is safer, but while you're playing on beginner mode, you take less damage on the gummy missions, and most of the time we can't really get hit that much anyway. So you don't need a gun, but I do recommend if anyone is trying to learn the run, I would always recommend to put a gun, unless if you're really going for like top times.
Yeah, it only lose like a second or so to cook in the first place. It's really not a problem at all. While we're talking about like beginner and taking less damage in gummy segments, there are a few more differences. So beginner also starts with those items that we talked about earlier, but another thing it does is you start with 2 accessories. You start with a ribbon and you start with an EXP necklace. The ribbon is not really useful for us. We use it to sell. It does give us defense and elemental resistance, but we don't really care about that because we're not planning on getting hit. Or at least not taking lethal damage. While the EXP necklace is actually vital, because that one gives us 30% extra EXP for everything we defeat. I think it's rounded down. No, I think it's actually, maybe it's not even, maybe it's just straight rounded.
I can't say.
I don't know exactly, but yeah, we keep the EXP necklace around just because we want the 30% extra EXP.
Oh, the rubber booty.
Yep. Gonna talk about that in a second too. Later on, we move that EXP necklace around because it doesn't matter who has it. As long as someone in our active party has it, we get more EXP. We're also talking about version differences. Something that the PC version changed, very impactful. We can skip the opening cutscene. That saves like over 3 minutes in a run. In return, however, we cannot skip the cutscene that we just saw for whatever reason. No one knows why. We lose 5 seconds to that. It's worth the 3 minutes you save, but I don't see why they would not let us skip that. There was probably some problem with it, and they couldn't fix it or something. But, I mean, it works in the PS4 version, it works in the PS3 version. But for PC, something went wrong, I guess.
Yeah. So we got to see our first use of magic. Got to just kind of use fire to just kind of one-shot all the enemies. And Dessa did some very difficult movement where you kind of got to hug the wall while you're still moving forward, because if you don't, you actually will spawn enemies. And something we didn't mention is that you can't examine or do any actions while you're in combat. I believe it's 2. But
2?
I mean,
I'm pretty sure
to be honest, I looked late.
Goofy.
I'm sorry.
I'll blame you.
I was in the middle of talking. So right there's a little minigame-esque. We're trying to find some evidence to prove who was guilty, and if you choose the wrong box, you can trap your party members. Which is fine, I just give you a faster fade out. So we want to hit this crank tower, and when the wheels are out, we want to actually do slower combos. Because if you attack too fast, you can only hit it only counts a hit when the wheel spins. So we can swing faster than the wheel takes to stop spinning. So we kind of want to space out our combos so that every hit makes the wheel spin. And then once the wheel's gone, we can kind of go fast. And I made a little joke about us trapping Goofy. And when you finish the fight, there's a lot of random things with this game, but that's one of the instances where the game takes longer to fade out if your party members are collecting money, because there's more things for the game to register and it's not able to progress to the next, for the fight to say it's over. So by trapping your party members, you technically get a little longer text box option, but you get most of the time a faster fade out.
Yeah.
So do not dodge roll.
I'm gonna dodge roll. I'm gonna dodge roll. Okay. It's fine.
I do not like you right now.
When has it ever failed? What do you mean?
Never. Not that I can think of.
Nah.
Alright, well, we are... Nice. We're going to the boss of this world. And the whole point is we want to actually... The game wants us to use this table to jump so we can be high enough to actually hit the boss's, I don't know how to call it, his body, yeah. And he's got these really long legs, but if you actually time a jump and swing near the apex, you can actually still hit the body without the table. And because we're really strong on beginner with all the power-ups that we use, we actually have enough damage to knock him out without needing to use the table. And so after this last cycle, we should be able to kill him. And that's kind of it's kind of a joke fight.
Yep. So the tableless strategy is actually kind of funny because I think it was back in 2013 or something. There was one Canadian runner, I forgot his name. While this game was already out for a little while, he did tableless. Or chairless, I think we call it, because we used to climb on the chair instead of the table because enough height. He did chairless. And everyone was like, nah, it's not worth it. And I think around like 6, maybe 7 years later, someone was like, hey, yo, how about we just skip the chair? And we were like, oh, that's so good. 7 years later, like, I think he just like Templeton was it? I think he just rediscovered that idea. I don't even know why.
I feel like it had to have been earlier. I feel like it had to have been at least 2017. I don't know.
No. I know
we can ask Sans for that later.
I'm pretty sure it was like 2018, 2019. And 2020 might be late, but 2018, 2019 for sure. Goblamesh. Right. Goblamesh. Okay, Goglabesh. There we go. That was the guy who originally did chairless. And I guess one of the reasons people didn't go on with that is because his time was in like top 15 or something. So people just didn't really notice him doing that. And then just faded into obscurity for a while. But yeah, finishing that world actually gave us access to a new spell, Blizzard. And we'll be using Blizzard a lot. Blizzard in this game. So, Fire, I don't think we're really talking about that spell, is like a single projectile that homes into the enemy after a little bit of travel time. It's really fast, and it's decently strong. You can chain it really well, though. You saw me do a swing earlier when I used Fire to preset the Keyblade, and then launch fires off of that. With Blizzard, you can't really chain those, but Blizzard is kind of like a shotgun where it has 6 shrapnels going off of the tip of the Keyblade, and it can hit multiple targets that way. We combine that with the possibility of being able to reset our spells by landing, or aerial casting, whatever you want to call it. Similar to air combos, where we want to do them airborne so that our landing resets them. We can do that with blizzards, or spells in general. We use a spell while in the air, land, and then immediately jump to use another spell. Complicated explanation to say we jump before every spell.
Yeah, it actually goes back to what you mentioned earlier about when you land, you have that that landing lag where swords gotta catch his fall. You can actually cancel that with by just doing spells in the air as well. So it kind of gives a double purpose. All right. What is really to talk about with this world? So we lost our party members.
Yep.
Actually, you know, something I want to mention that hasn't been stated yet. This world, this game in general has very unique movement compared to the other Kingdom Hearts games. And by that, our camera angle actually transfers to the next room that we're in. So there's actually a lot of moments that we're going to be seeing Desa set up his camera angle as he's falling or as he's jumping or something, so that way he knows exactly how his camera's going to be positioned for the next room. So that's something that we actually see a lot throughout with this world specifically. Want to make sure we got that in there.
You kind of know that someone has put a lot of time into the game if you see them be very meticulous about how they leave a room. Whether it's like whether it's just making sure that Sora faces a certain way, or do you do like certain amount of dodge rolls to leave the room, or I guess most specifically the camera angle. Because a different camera angle, if you're not paying attention, can ruin the movement for following rooms. And if you're not aware of those, you will have to... you'll usually just waste time going the wrong direction. That being said, it is consistent. Like, if you notice that your camera was in a different position, you can kind of try and draw a mental map of like, okay, my camera was missing a 90-degree spin to the right or something like that. So you just know that the camera will be offset the same amount for the next room and readjust your movement for that. But that's already getting into like very technical stuff. You really have to know every room layout and orientation of the rooms within the game's world.
Yeah, and something I want to mention, so as this game has been released on PS2, PS3, PS4, well, not PS5, PC, you know, as the game has progressed, the load times have changed, and so one of the things that we opt, especially on the more current versions of the game, we actually touch certain save points, so that way we can actually fast travel to them from the world map. So we got to see some of that use there. Older runs, like on older consoles, actually will not use that. But that's just one of the little routing differences that's on the HD versions. So we actually have a set of 6 fights that are very annoying. We gotta fight these powwows, the monkeys that just kind of run around, kind of do their own little thing. And thankfully, the Blizzard spell is good at catching a lot of them, but we can only do so much, and we're limited on our MP. But again, thankfully, because we got to actually fast travel, we got to get our MP back, so it does make this a little more lenient on the HD version, which most people will be playing in.
Oh, I missed. Thank you, Goofy. Goofy the man pushing that monkey back before the monkey managed to run away. So
you gotta tell them to stop monkeying around, by the way. That's how you make them behave.
Maybe it works for this. So, the ether we got from Goofy in Traverse Town, oh my god, is being used here, because this is where we start with a lot of stuff. What? That guy's still alive? Oh. Okay, that was
yeah.
Alright. This room also has a surprising amount of ways on how to traverse it. You can jump on that ledge, you can walk around, you can get like a completely different jump that we used to do for a while before we decided that it's not useful. Like, instead of jumping, we used to jump directly on that staircase, then we jumped on the other side to get some ledge grabs because 60 FPS made the movement a little different, and now we're back on the staircase but in a different way than back in the day.
Alright, yeah, and in the middle of us, actually, when we get to the last room, we actually get a level up, and that actually gives us an extra MP bar, which normally comes in clutch to give us an extra blizzard at the end.
Yeah, it's usually after like 3 kills, so you can adjust for that, use your last MP to get the 3rd or 4th kill, and then immediately make use of the extra MP you get. Because the MP luckily comes in filled and not empty.
Yeah. I guess I can mention this now. So, in a lot of fights, we'll actually see our party members are very useful in this game.
Yeah, very
But
useful.
by them
Just
being
parry.
useful, they can be unuseful. I was gonna say. So in a lot of the other Kingdom Hearts games later on, we kind of have party members, but they don't really do too much. Like they're just kind of there for the aesthetic. But in this game, they actually can like push bosses and enemies around, which in theory sounds good. But when we want the enemy to be in a certain spot, and then our party members can just say no, they want it in a spot,
Yep.
It creates for a lot of funny interactions.
Especially
Depends on what
Goofy
your
is really good at
definition of
that.
funny.
Like, Goofy for one is able to just push enemies out of the way because Goofy has to get in the face of the enemy to hit him with a shield. Donald at least has range capabilities. But Goofy also has a shield, which, like on the Sabor fight just now, means that he can parry attacks. And in the case of Sabor, once she gets parried, she is stunned for quite a while. And when her HP is low enough, her next action will be go into the bushes. And because I went aggressive with those fires, her HP was low enough where she just immediately jumped away. And we had to wait a little bit for her to come out. Alright,
So what we just did there...
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what we just did there is, the game wants you to think that you need to actually kill the enemies, but you gotta kill that big, fruit. However, funnily enough, if you lock onto that fruit, and then you lock off of the fruit, it's really hard to lock back onto the fruit. So we want to make sure we don't ever actually make the mistake. We actually have this is the Clayton fight. Now this fight's a little interesting. There's he's on an enemy called a stealth sneak. We can't see it, it's stealthy. But we want to actually time 2 combos while it's in the air, so when it lands, it actually skips the animation of it coming out. And what we want to do is, it's always going to go opposite from where we are, so we place ourselves so the stealth sneak can jump behind us, and then once we hit it with a combo, we can actually just get clean off the stealth sneak, and while it's done, we kill him. And that's not the end of the world.
No.
That's the fight. We actually have the real final boss coming up for this world. And that's the movement. This room is called Waterfall Cavern. If you know, you know. We do a lot of... it's a difficult sequence of jumps that we can do to kind of skip a lot of other unnecessary pathing to do in this room. But the camera is moving and there's a lot of very weird moments. We can have. Oh, that was... Okay. That was almost... You almost got out, Scotch.
Yeah.
But that was still pretty good. Depending on the category, at least for this category, we don't need to get any of the chests there. But if you were to ever fail the Riku race, you can actually pick up an item there. And that'll give you enough, technically. Or if you're just playing on other categories where you don't have that extra ribbon accessory to sell, you can pick up some items there.
Yep.
Alright, but now we got the biggest break in the game. So what do you want to talk about?
Gummy missions, am I right?
I mean, we can actually, yeah. That's it.
I guess.
So,
yeah, we can actually talk a little bit about how gummy ships work. So, you saw, Sid already mentioned that earlier. When we embarked on the first gummy mission, we actually stripped the entire gummy ship off of every single block and reattached the cockpit and engine. We can also add a gun, as mentioned, though it's not optimal. It's very good as a safety measure. The way speed is calculated is that you one-half the weight of a gummy ship, which is taken into account. And the heavier your gummy ship is, which means the more blocks you have attached to it, the slower it goes. And there's also the engine. So, in terms of engines, it actually does not matter what you have equipped outside of your strongest engine. So you can have like 10 tier 1 engines and 1 tier 5 engine, and you'll have max speed. Max regular speed. You could also have 10 of the... Well, let's say you have like 10 of the tier 5 engines. The speed is still going to be the same. It's going to be the highest speed possible. Because all that matters is just how strong your strongest engine is. All the other engines do not contribute at all to the speed stat, which is a little counterintuitive, but it also makes our life a little easier, having to not think about our gummy ship all too much. we're also very meticulous about how we place the gummy parts, because there are gonna be a total of 4 gummy menus that we do in this route. They can be free depending on how you do things, but usually you're gonna be doing 4. And the first one we already saw, I took everything away from the ship and then added the cockpit and engine. Once we finish our next world, which is a revisit to Traverse Town, we're going to be buying some gummy parts, namely a better engine and a turbo. And that turbo is going to speed us up a lot, but we also just get a better engine, which is also really good to have. But due to how we placed our gummy parts before, we have to make sure that we then don't try to place our new parts in the way, so we just, for example, in this case, I would make sure to get rid of that current engine, add the new engine over that, and then add the turbo below that to open up space for the next menu. We basically make sure that our inputs for future gummy menus are as little as possible. And other than that...
Also, I was just gonna say, there's a lot of people think that this game actually has the most boring gummies in the Kingdom Hearts series. However, it's actually the most, well, I would say it's still more than KH3. Maybe, that's debatable. However, at least with this game, we get to actually change our movement in different worlds.
Yep.
There's actually multiple different routes that you can do that are, depending on your skill level and what you prefer, may be better for how you want to play. Also, again, works alongside with the having to despawn enemies, because we're not allowed to act while enemies are active or while we are currently in combat. So there's a lot. The gummy routes do actually play a bit, even though they're auto scrollers. They do play quite a bit into the overall routing of the entire road, so it's very interesting.
And your gummy ship actually makes a big difference. A lot of people prefer the KH2 gummies, for example, over the other gummy ship segments. But in KH2, gummy missions are straight up just auto-scrollers. There's a mod, for example, that just makes us, or allows us to skip gummy missions altogether. We don't have that for this game, just because, as Sid mentioned, it's an integral part of the route, having to get extra pieces, having to build your gummy ship. While in other games like KH2, it does not matter what kind of ship you have, your speed is always going to be the same because it's on rails. In fact, in KH1 it goes so far as to where the turbo that we're going to be equipping after this world, you actually want to make sure to use that turbo in very specific sections, so that you don't waste the turbo charge during a load screen, for example. Because some gummy missions are, or most gummy missions are stitched together with multiple chunks, and in between chunks you do not make any progress on the gummy route, meaning that if you were to turbo into that chunk, or in between 2 chunks, you are wasting your turbo gauge. I would personally say it's probably, at least the way it's implemented into the run, my favorite version of travel between worlds. Right up there with
I would
K3.
agree.
K3 is pretty good too, because that one has gummy bosses.
Oh my
and all
god.
that. Yeah, I swung a tad bit too late. It worked out, it's fine.
I thought you were trying to show that rock who's boss.
Uh-huh. I already showed the Destiny Islands rock who's boss. You gotta spread the word.
So, as we were speaking about the routing differences between the different versions of this game, if you're playing on English, you would have actually done all of this stuff already. It's actually one of those things that if you play this game on Japanese, you get a faster run, but this part honestly feels miserable, having to go through all those gummy missions, the 2 gummy missions back to back. We don't have a boost or anything to really make it faster, and then we do all of this running back and forth. We're going to be still having to fast travel between other locations quite a bit still. This, honestly, I think that's the most boring part of the run. So,
Yeah,
which is good news, because once we're past this, there's only excitement.
depending on who you ask. Some aren't too fond of what comes after this.
I mean, it's exciting at least. So this is where we're actually going to be selling our extra items that we don't need. Yeah, for beginner mode, we get that extra ribbon that we're going to be selling. We need to get up to 1,200 money.
1250 actually.
So, is it 1250?
Yeah.
1250. Okay. Yeah. 250, 1,000. So, we are just going to be selling our extra stuff. For beginner mode, you will almost always have enough, and if you're ever having cross issues, something that we didn't mention, but we actually do get a draw or treasure magnet ability that we could have equipped earlier if we really were worried about our money, but we don't need to worry about that. And so that's ended with 1296, and that's going to be enough to, not only does it free up our slots so it makes our menuing easier some spots later, honestly it just gives us the money so we can actually make our gummy missions even faster. So we're getting introduced. What was that?
2 birds of 1 stone, freeing up the menu and getting money.
Well, nice that you mentioned stone.
Ah!
Yeah.
It's an earth shine, it's not an earth stone.
Okay, well, they are. I believe they call them stones later. Maybe I'm wrong.
Pretty sure they do.
Oh, yeah, I was about to say, I'm pretty sure they do. So we just got our first summon, which is Simba, who is quite useful. He's kind of used for some safer strats, but we'll see him. So as the game's been getting more and more optimized, there's been some cases to actually not opt to use Simba in certain spots of the run. However, there's still one spot that I believe will always be there. 2 spots at least. I would say would always be useful. Yeah.
Oh, Sea Portal as well?
Yeah.
Nah, I mean, there is a strat that doesn't use it, but it's absolutely miserable. It's not fun.
But yeah, nonetheless, Simba is actually going to be a very good AoE killing machine option. However, the problem with summons is we have a very long summon animation. That's one of the things I'm very grateful that they decided to change for Kingdom Hearts 2, where they actually give you the option to cancel, to opt if you want to have those summon animations on or not. But in Kingdom Hearts 1, they're very long and exaggerated cutscenes that we see, but they're very worth it. Yeah, so now we're about to buy our 2 gummy pieces. We're gonna buy the Fire G, which is like a tier 2 engine, and we're gonna buy the Haze G or Haze gummy. These are blocks that we can attach to our ship. That's gonna make our engine faster overall and give us the option to boost, which will be seeing an orange bar at the bottom of our screen once Des is done with this this menu coming up. Another thing to mention is we are actually not gonna go from this portal that we're on right now in Traverse Town. We're actually gonna warp to Wonderland. This map is actually very deceiving. It looks like that warp hole is closer to Traverse Town, but it is actually in fact much closer to Wonderland. So we're actually gonna warp there, take all this time to go through the animation, go back into the gummy menu, the world map, and then opt to go into the mission to get to the warp hole. And with that, we're gonna be going to our everyone's favorite world.
Yep.
Alright.
Another final mix edition, by the way. Very important one. There's a scoreboard on the gummy missions.
Was that only final mix?
Yeah, OG didn't have that. I mean, OG didn't have. OG did not have.
It just didn't have the other.
No. OG did.
Like all this stuff. I could be wrong.
Wait, no, I'm pretty sure it didn't. I'm pretty sure the score thing is new because I distinctly remember that you can't click it away. Anyway, like I.
That's true. I had to fact check.
The whole thing about like gummy missions in future games is that every route has like missions attached to it or objectives. In this game, you have 3 different objectives that you can clear one after another. and get all kinds of rewards related to gummy routes and gummy ships. And this score plays a role in some. Was that it? No, that wasn't it. Oh gee, I'm pretty sure. Now you make me question myself.
You made me question myself too. I can't really tell you.
No, no, that wasn't in there. I'm very certain. Absolutely.
Oh,
certain.
you know, something to point out. So as we mentioned, movement's very important. And so a lot of runners kind of do their own movement that's very unique. Some of them, it doesn't really matter how you it does matter how you get from point A to point B, but some runners opt to do other methods on how you want to do it. Depending on the camera angle. When this game came out on PC, they somehow bugged the R3 camera. Normally you can actually instantly turn the camera to whichever way you're facing by clicking R3, but in this version of the PC port, it moves extremely slow, so it makes some runners have to actually adjust how they do their movement. I believe that there is a fix for it, but not every runner kind of goes for it. Alright, but enough of that. We're actually up to a very toxic fight. We're going to be fighting a group of bandits that are coming out from the sand, and we want to kill them actually in specific groups so that way more spawn at a time. Otherwise they're going to be very staggered on their spawns.
Like
they kind of spawn anywhere. Yes, yeah, at this point. But once you get the level up, you know that you're about to be done. That should be the last thing. Yeah. Well, that wasn't too bad. I've seen worse.
I'm actually not even sure if I'm pretty sure I am using the camera fix. I can actually check. Oh, I cannot. It says road autosave all over the console. Never mind. We have a few mods that we allow for this game, just because with PC we have the freedom of allowing for mods in the first place. And the idea was that if you want to be completely unmodded, you can run console versions. Those are always going to be there. But there's one specific segment coming up later on that we decided is just absolutely toxic, and we're gonna take it upon ourselves to do something about that. And with the introduction of that mod, the hook ship mod as it's called, we also decided that a few things like a faster camera is allowed. I'm pretty sure I have it installed because the camera would be absolutely sluggish otherwise. I'm pretty sure it's installed.
I was also gonna say, with the use of playing on PC, it does opt for some different movement options where you can actually go into that room again. Typically on console, you'll see people going on the outside and just jumping up on some pieces to get back to get to the top and then get here. But with the loadless timer, it does save a few frames. But that's not really important. We're actually coming up against this boss called Pod Centipede. We're actually trapped in this room. You gotta wait for it to go. At this point,
it's free.
Yeah. Alright, so when this boss is actually traveling, it can't be broken. And right now we don't have the scan ability to see its HP, but if you actually get it to HP to half a green bar or half a bar left, it will not break. It actually kind of stays stuck in place, and you kind of just whale combos on it. Oh, he tried. I didn't see the one Travis sound got.
No, he didn't even
That's
try.
something I try to keep. Okay. Oh, nice. So, we kind of have a boss rush in this world. We're now to another boss. This is Is it a tiger? Is it a lion? I don't know. I know someone was debating this the other day. Alright, let's just call it Cave of Wonders. Cow. So, there's a couple different ways to do this. We can actually jump on its head, and typically you can actually swing on it, but you saw Desa kind of wait a little bit. We want to wait for him to start doing this little, motion where he starts shaking his head and moving. This will allow us to actually hit it while it's doing that, and while its head is down, we can actually focus on the other eye. Depending on the category that you're playing on, you actually want to swing at it early, so that way you stop that whole dancing animation that it can do. You can just stay on there and just kind of wail between the two eyes. Alright, so again, we saw Desa kind of turn Sora, which would then give him a different camera angle as he lands here. We're going to be doing some... I don't know if you're going to be doing the fire movement here, but There's a lot of different ways to traverse through these areas. You can see Dessa, some people jump, some people dodge roll. There's things that are faster. Okay, there we go. So when you jump on a ledge, we're technically in the air, so you can actually cast a fire, and if you cast a fire and then put yourself to where you're not going to land on the ledge, you actually will have enough air time to get that fire to cast out without having to land and have it be cancelled. So fun fact, I used to be terrified of this room when I was a kid. This room right here. I used to fall here. And I used to be scared. So I still think about that even when I would run this game. It's yeah.
Which is funny because we do a little bit of risky movement where we land on the geyser and then roll off of it. Which if you're rolling, you cannot ledge grab, so you'd fall to your doom.
Alright, we're at another boss. So, again, different routes depending on how you play. Some people can choose to have Aladdin in here. He does do a lot more damage than Donald, and he does help you get more damage. Or just in general, Donald can actually shoot magic, so we actually want to make sure Donald goes into this fight with no MP. So that way Donald doesn't trigger Jafar to cast his magic shield. But essentially what we do is we kind of stall him. We want to make him use his bubble. So we use magic for him to put up a magic barrier, and then he won't run away. And then from there we have enough time to just kind of wail on him to kill him. What else to mention here? Yeah, so you still don't have scan on right now, so that's another thing. We're not going to be seeing the enemy's HP for a while, so that kind of makes it a little hard to know exactly when you're going to kill. But most of these strats are pretty much consistent in terms of your inputs. Now, for this fight, we really can only be attacking Iago. That lamp is immune to magic. But we can use magic on Jafar, which they do share the same HP bar, funny enough. And so, as Iago's just running away, we're just gonna be wailing on it. And that's the end of. That's not the end of Akaba. I keep saying that. I'm a filthy liar.
Can't believe you.
So that's okay. That's one of the things I wanted to mention earlier. Again, we mentioned about cutscenes. There's actually a lot of cutscenes in this game that you can actually skip during white screens. So there's you just have to know. A lot of them are roughly around 11 seconds, but you know, these are just like little cool things that are just with this game. You have to really know how every cutscene works, and I actually find that to be very nice. Instead of it just being like a monotonous feeling, you know, it's easy to autopilot. But for this, it kind of keeps you like thinking the entire time.
Even with this.
So right? Yeah. I was gonna say right here, we're actually we're escaping the Cave of Wonders, and we can actually die. And if we die, it actually ends the entire sequence, and we don't have to see, you know, a little cutscene or like just a lot of animation that does not really matter. So we die, and it's actually a little harder to die on beginner because we have more defense and just, you know, we take less damage. So you actually have to be kind of skilled to get hit by those rocks.
You gotta practice being bad. I think honestly, like, yeah, as a beginner, it's really not easy to die in that sim, because you have to know which rocks can hit you, which rocks cannot hit you, which rocks are like, there's some rocks that are nigh on pixel perfect to hit you. There are also HP orbs that you want to be avoiding, and I died, for example, to the third fire pillar. There's gonna be another fire pillar after that, but if you don't die to that, you're gonna be watching like 15 seconds of flying. It's quite a big time loss if you don't get it. It is easy once you know how to do it, but it's not trivial at all.
I also want to point out, we actually clicked to go to that warp hole and started the gunman mission, but if you actually go past it, you know, now we are just we're going to new territory that we don't know. Something that you mentioned, but we didn't really get a chance to explain it. So Dessa's charge, he's pressing that boost every time the orange bar fills up. But when you see the screen change in color, these are transitions that if you were to be boosting, it would not give you any speed, because you gotta wait for that to load in before you can move. Luckily, it does time out for most of them that you can actually just hold the button
Mm-hmm.
and just boost for free. But there's a couple ones later on that you actually do need to be wary of your timing on it.
Yeah, I think the first one is actually right when you get to Agrabah, the last transition. You want to hold off on that. And I think the only other ones are going
It's
back to
Halabashan
Halabashan,
and the
yeah.
world.
Yeah,
There's
and
actually
Halabashan
both
and-
Halabashan visits.
Right, for both, yeah. Both Halabashan and the world. True. True.
Alright, so we actually come across a world that's not known on the world map. This will appear whether you choose to go to the world on the left or on the right. Another thing is we actually skip some worlds in this run. There's some worlds that we will, I mean technically we've seen them once, but we opt to not do them. Depending on the category, some could be worth going different routes, but realistically we can skip some, which does cause a complication later on, which we'll get to. Dessa did mention it with Hookship, but we'll explain that later. We're now in Monstro. Monstro comes and swallows the ship. So now we're here.
It's
I guess
actually the shortest world in the run too. Like we're gonna be out of this in 3 minutes.
Yeah, it's very, very quick.
And yeah, regarding optional worlds, so in total we're skipping 3 worlds. There's one world that is for the most part unnecessary in general because it has mostly minigames, the 100-acre woods. Then there's also Olympus Coliseum and Atlantica, which we don't step foot into either. Mostly because for the first cycle of worlds, you need to do Wonderland and Deep Jungle, while Atlantica has nothing to it really. And check again how this works.
Okay, so what you're actually seeing right here, right now, is this is where you can have a difference in routing for the gummies that we mentioned.
Okay. Wait, did he spawn?
So what Des is actually trying to do right now is he's trying to get another gummy for his ship that's going to allow the gummies for the rest of the run to progress by faster. However, spawning in this game is very unforgiving.
He's fine. This is horrible. Don't get too close. Okay. Totally.
So there was quite a lot to kind of explain there. One of the things I wanted to mention, there's actually a skip that you can do that with this gummy route you actually don't opt for it. Because you want to you skip that room that you would actually be using to get the gummy G. That's the haste 2G, I believe, which is going to give us a fast.
Haste 2G is
that's the
one
flare
that you
G.
get
Sorry,
in
that's Halloween Town. Sorry,
or
yeah. So we're actually going to get a even faster main engine, and that's going to just save time for the upcoming gummy missions. We're actually coming up against this boss. We're actually going to be trying to stagger it with air combo finishers. Every time we do a finisher, we'll stun the boss, but we have Riku here, who's an optional party member. Well, he's an additional party member, and your other party members can kind of break your stun, so we just gotta kind of hope that doesn't happen. But another thing to mention, as we said, you cannot actually interact with anything as long as you're in combat, and so there's a lot of specific movement that we do in the game to not spawn some enemies, so that way we actually have access to interact with things faster without having to kill them. Another little difference, if you're playing on English, you actually spawn on the ship, but in Japanese, they make you do some movement to get to it. Just all these little tiny changes. Otherwise, we now got our first shared ability, which is high jump. So these abilities apply to the entire team. Also, something very... What was that?
They also don't cost you. You can just equip
yes. Actually, I'll explain after this fight. So this is now Parasite Cage 2. A similar thing as the first fight. We actually kind of want to just get quick air combos. If we're fast enough, we can actually get an air combo that'll stop that first attack. But if you have any break in your combos, if you drop an input, if you're not fast on that jump landing, and Sora has to regain his footing, you'll actually not be able to stun him, and he'll start attacking. Also, our party members can stun him. However, you know, if you let him attack, most of the time that'll actually kill Donald, who is normally our main culprit, who likes to stun him. If you actually hit his head, the game wants you to hit his head. That knocks him out, and then he opens up a core. But it's really hard to actually do full air combos on that core, and it's just faster to stun him. So if Donald's dead, more than likely you're not gonna actually see him knock out. But normally, if your party members are alive, they will try to mess with you. That's just how this game works. But one thing I wanted to mention is, unlike a lot of other, I think it's all the other KH games, Sora and Donald share the same magic. So whenever you learn a magic, Donald also learns it, which is good and bad, depending on how you look at it. But in this case, Donald doesn't have anything that can mess with us. We're gonna get some tools soon in the upcoming worlds that are gonna give us some good spells. However, if Donald decides to use those spells, they're not good.
Mm-hmm.
So
they're only good in the right hands.
Yep. Not the left hands.
Yep. Don't put them in the left hand. Another change
so
in Final Mix, by the way. If you warp to the whale, originally you could miss out on getting back into the whale. So they changed it in Final Mix, luckily, because we do want to re-enter the whale. Re-entering the whale gives us access to a summon, Dumble, which we will later use for some movement tech, which is actually kind of funny to think about. You use summons for movement. But yeah, it's funnily enough not even the only game where you can do that. Actually, now I think about it, every mainline game uses a summons for movement tech. I didn't even feel that. It's pretty cool. KH2 can use Peter Pan for movement tech. Original KH2 can, not Final Mix.
I mean, I guess I know what you're saying. Yeah. Fair enough.
By the way, you can do this going mission without moving a muscle. You just hold square.
I still don't know. I don't trust it.
Well, it has yet to fail, so we're about to see something. We know how that saying goes.
You know, it's actually funnily enough. I remember my very first time doing a run was you just like telling me what to do in my ear, and I just played. And
right,
it's kind of like
we did do those things. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually what got me into running Kingdom Hearts. Well, that's a lie. That's what got me into running Kingdom Hearts 1 beginner. I originally was learning back in the old school days. I was doing level 1.
Yeah.
On PS3. But I never. I didn't like. I took
PS2.
PS off.
You liar.
Yeah. I said PS3.
Oh, fuck.
Alright.
Speaking of camera angles, I was not paying attention to that one. I saw a version of that room I haven't seen in a while.
Alright, so we're actually... This is another very difficult world. This is a really difficult part in the run. We're coming up against a menu. We haven't seen too many menus. And something I want to mention... the cursor in this game remembers your cursor position from the previous menu. So it actually makes practicing menus really difficult. You actually have to know exactly where you ended. And outside of just trying to practice a menu, it's almost better to practice a menu by doing runs. Or in longer segments, because you have to know exactly how the menus will operate. Now, this is another fight where we actually want to do specific movement to trigger some spawns to happen. I don't know exactly why you can get really delayed spawns, but we're going to be seeing a lot of use of the blizzard magic. You know, we got to see it in Deep Jungle, but now we're going to see it a lot in this world as well, because there's a lot of mob fights that we actually do need to fight, and it's a very good way of killing enemies from a far distance, because this game, as we mentioned, movement is very particular. As we saw earlier, even like the slightest of movement mistake can trigger things to spawn and things that we do not want to happen. So we're going to be using Blizzard a lot in this world to actually kill things from afar, so that way we actually don't step into other spawn zones that'll make other enemies just spawn in and delay our movement. Because again, as we mentioned, if that command bar is red, we cannot interact with anything. So.
Conveniently enough, in Agrabah we also got an upgrade to our Blizzard spell. Now we have Blizzara, which is a decent bit. Oh. No! I used to... Okay. I fell down. It's fine.
Nice. So, yeah, that's something we also didn't mention. Some rooms have different spawns.
Oh, right. Now I think about it, I heard the sound. I just ignored it.
Oh, did you use the right spell on him?
Apparently. I heard the diddle, but I just pretended I didn't hear that. I get it. 3, 4,
okay.
5. Oh, that's fine.
Let's talk about this. Okay, so these ghosts can appear at a random time. Funnily enough, this is actually, I know some people have contemplated over the years of, oh, can you do Kingdom Hearts 1 blindfolded? And it makes people not do this world. Technically you can, but you would probably opt to do the Atlantica world, because the ghost spawns are different and there's no indication as to tell where they spawned. That's a different point. One thing we wanted to mention, there's actually different spawns you can get. Some are good, some are bad. Most rooms have a normal spawn, but then there's other rooms where you can get these truffles, mushroom heartless. You can get white mushrooms, black fungus, and red truffles are blue ones. White mushrooms are not really bad, but they do... Sometimes it's slower to get them, just because it's harder to get rid of them, like that room that we just saw. In other instances, there are 2 instances in the run where we can get black fungus. One of them is coming up, and we actually have 2 instances.
But they don't have an impact the first time you go through it.
Oh, I didn't notice you got them there. Well, let's see. What's our fate here? Let's see.
Yeah, you want to listen. If you don't hear the enemy spawning, it means that you got the black fungus. Don't get away! No! I stole the ledge grab. The good thing is they can only spawn once. That means once you retransition and just go away, they will not be there anymore. I should have used that for earlier. That's fine. 5-2 is enough.
Yeah. So another. Oh, are we gonna get red truffles here? Let's see. Because we didn't see it in.
Nope. Too bad.
Okay. I thought we were gonna see all 3.
No trifecta. Getting the rare truffles is technically faster for that room because of the haste 2G that you can get. But yeah, it's a very difficult approach. I've actually never looked into that properly.
It's only slightly slow, but yeah, it might be worth if you get truffles.
No, it is worth. I think Spider actually timed it, but nobody actually goes for that because it also depends on how the truffles move and all that.
All right, we just did a lot of series of jumps, by the way. That was been found. It's called Community Climb because a lot of members of the community found different jumps, piece by piece by piece, and even then some. It has still changed a lot, even in the recent years. So this is again where we're going to be kind of using our Blizzard spell to kind of take out these enemies. We got to see Destiny use an Ether earlier. You actually want to... Something we didn't mention is spells in this game have...
Get it!
Locke is running around. So
yeah, because I messed up the Blizzard at the very beginning. Made a mistake of locking on and didn't have auto lock on take care of this.
And what I wanted to mention is our Blizzard, it actually uses half an MP bar technically, or what's called like an orange bar of MP. So we actually got to see using the Ether to kind of get more of our MP bar back to get more, to cast more Blizzards. But yeah, we got to, that's our first instance of really using an item outside of the potion in the beginning. But yeah, we use an Ether. There's a few instances where we're going to be using items, mostly in late game.
Yep. But that
Ether is just to have enough MP to kind of last us throughout the entire of this world. So this fight, Oogie Boogie. It's kind of a gimmick fight. At the start, he's going to throw out 2 gargoyles at us. We kind of want to just kill them as fast as we can. Once the enemies are gone, the buttons on the bottom are going to light up. We want to hit the button so we trap Oogie. We can wail on him. By wail, we can do 10 hits. 10 hits exactly, unless if you're good, we can get an extra secret 11th hit at the apex of his jump. But I say 10 hits because that is very literal. It can only be 10 hits, so if your party members hit, then they take a hit. So this was very good. We got to see a dice reflect. Oogie likes to throw dice at us. If we deflect it back, all three back at him, he will not do an additional attack, and then we can actually just get the buttons to light up instantly and kind of kill him. So that was a very good fight. That was cool.
Solid indeed. Way better than the Lockshock Barrow fight earlier. So
Yes.
with Lockshock and Barrow, you saw
redeemed
they're
yourself.
very tiny, so we opt for blizzards. You can do combos, but it's not a fun time. It can go wrong though. But now we have Oogie 2, Oogie Manor.
Yeah, so this
Very
is
unique
a
fight.
very weird fight. Yeah, we are actually we are fighting globs. That's kind of it. Yeah. Now in this category, it's really not kind of scary. Otherwise, this fight can be very, very, very scary depending on what category you're playing. But these globs take 5 hits, so we actually did a menu to give ourselves more strength. So everything's going to be dying in 5 hits. We have 6 globs to kill. 7. Good. 7. Yeah, my bad. We also got to equip an air combo plus. So earlier our combos were taking 3 hits to get to a finisher. Now they're going to take 4. And that's because sometimes it is actually faster to get 3 empty hits instead of 4, and it's just almost overall a good thing to have that we're going to be pretty much using throughout the rest of the run. So after doing that fight and doing some jumps and movement to progress faster, now this world's practically done. Which thankfully, most of the time, at least on this category, this is the easiest fight. So it's like if you get to this point, you kind of made it out scot-free in this world. So we mentioned this earlier. This is actually, if you're ever playing on console, for many years, Kingdom Hearts speedrun community was just kind of left to be, we're at the mercy, or we used to be at the mercy of the game. Because we did not complete the Atlantica world, so we did the Halloween Town world, that world that has the question mark on the bottom. If you do that, then this is 100%. But if you don't do it, you have a chance to have Hookship not appear, and then you have to traverse all the way to Atlantica, and then you have to try to go back and hope you don't miss it again. Correct me if my math is wrong, but the first time you fail Hookship, without the Flare-Rudgy, you have to, I think you lose 47 seconds, and then every other time I think it was 22 seconds.
Yeah, it's something like that. Around 45 and around 22 seconds.
Yeah. So that's actually, well, if you were playing on console, this would be an advantage to do this, to get that other, the faster gummy piece, because it technically makes you lose less time if you were to miss Hookship. But obviously in an ideal run, we'd hope to not have that, but as Dessa mentioned earlier, we actually do have, it was voted on by the community to allow a mod that makes this 100%. It doesn't give you any advantage, it just prevents you from getting unlucky.
So you saw that little, you see that little writing at the top, it's like Hookship 100%, which indicates that the mod is active. We use that basically as our verification whether someone is using the mod or not. And funnily enough, there's actually 2 versions of how this mod can play out. The exclamation mark can appear immediately, or right here, like right when the ship spawns. If the exclamation mark is there immediately, I believe it was that way around, that means that you would have gotten the ship regardless. If the
No, I think it's
exclamation...
the other way.
Is it the other way around? Okay, well, if the exclamation mark is not there
I
before
could be
the ship
wrong,
spawns-
don't ask.
I'm not sure. You can basically tell whether the ship would have been there or not, and I'm pretty sure in this scenario it would have actually been there regardless. My practice
Yeah, I
run the
think if
other
it's
day
there
wouldn't
instantly,
have.
then yeah, I think then the game had to the mod had to override to
Yeah.
give you. All right, but we're in Neverland. This world is very short, very easy to lose time.
Yes.
This is notably the next fight we have coming up is it's arguably one of the hardest fights in the entire run. There's been strats that has been developed over the years because again, when this game came out, or the HD versions, well, I should say, PS4 and PC ports, when the game came out on 60 FPS, allows you to do faster air combos, which have changed strats throughout many places actually, during this run. And with this, we just actually got our stop magic ability, which. Okay, so we'll be seeing that later. Essentially, what Des is going to be doing right now is we're actually going to be, well, hopefully, we can stun him. He has, it's RNG as to what opening he does at the start, but we're kind of going to be, he likes to react after 5 hits. So we're actually going to be forcing him to kind of just, we're going to be forcing him to, once we get to around halfway into the yellow bar, he's going to start teleporting after 5 hits. So, and after this, he's going to be kind of doing a loop.
Goofy!
But our party members, as I mentioned earlier, it feels like sometimes they're stronger than Sora. And Goofy, he's a machine. And if Goofy wants to go one way, he's going to make the enemy go. So, every time this anti-Sora that he goes underground, whenever he teleports, whenever he goes underground, he creates a clone of himself. And so we realistically want to actually just kind of make him teleport and then catch him before he can move. But our party members can kind of make that go any way possible. Now, another thing to mention, when we finish that fight, you saw Dessa rolling into the door. We call that fast fade. The game can sometimes just progress faster by about 6 seconds, allowing you to act out instantly. And that's just a little way to save some time. There's some tricks that people do, but as long as you're doing some type of movement into that door, it typically allows you to get the fast fade. So we got to see a menu. Again, we haven't seen too many of these, but Dessa will actually change his Keyblade. He changes his accessories to get some more damage and more magic. We also got to put some abilities on Goofy that are going to be helpful. I believe, what do you put on him? Tornado, Cheer, and...
I actually don't put on Tornado, but Cheer and... I think I put a Lucky Strike for whatever reason.
Okay.
Like out of hand.
So... Now we're actually going to be seeing our first instance of a summon. These are the long animations that we mentioned. So there are some, I believe current PC record, maybe console record now, does not opt to do this strat, where you summon Simba. Because you got this long animation, but if you go with this animation, you get a free fight. Simba's charge actually just can wipe out waves of enemies. And it's just pretty useful. So we sacrifice about 25 seconds. I don't know exactly how long the animation is, but to guarantee that we have...
But it's
around
long. It's long.
Yeah. But it creates consistency, so that's one of the things that I would normally opt for runners. So this is the Captain Hook fight. We're going to be seeing an instance of trying to stun lock him with the stop ability that we just got. However, we're at the mercy of needing Peter Pan to throw ethers on us. This is a little off the rails, but thankfully
it's
that
literally on the rail.
That's true, I was going to say. I wanted to make that joke, but...
Oh my god, I'm glad.
So, Dessa did handle that kind of well. He was able to catch Hook from falling off the rail. Kept things on track. We're trying to have more puns. And thankfully that ship actually tried to attack us. Now, there was actually a very smart moment Dessa did there by actually stopping his combo early to get another stop. He's not only did he stop the ship from attacking Sora and stopping his combo, making Hook fall off the rails, literally. When you hit multiple enemies, you get more MP back, so that actually allowed to generate more MP generation and to be able to get more stops out frequently. Since Hook was in a very unideal spot to get a lot of hits out on him.
There are two versions of the strat. There's the regular one and then the one that everyone hates. So there, you can either do...
I wonder who made that one.
Yeah, I wonder. That guy's been talking a lot about this run for 1.5 hours, but... Oh, a good listen there. But yeah, Sid made that strat. So, the usual strat that we've been doing for almost a decade by this point is 4 hits for a full combo, land, jump, stop, land, 4 hits, and so on. So 4 hits, stop, 4 hits, stop. Sid had the idea that it's slow, which is correct. There is a faster way to do it. We do 3 hits and then 2 hits stop, because on top of finishers just generally being a little slower, they also drag you to the ground. Meaning that, or in return, empty hits, or non-finishers, usually keep you higher up. And you can use that to basically stop your combo in the middle of it and cast the stop without having to touch the ground again. But the timing is ridiculous. I know there's one runner who's been absolutely cursing that strat forever now. He's not running the game anymore. But not because of the strat.
Oh, okay. So I want to mention here, we're actually going to be seeing some MP. What's the word? We're actually going to be getting more out of our MP by using a fire. Now, Pearl was saying, well, we just use MP. How is that saving MP? Because ours uses 3 blocks. How the game works, if you have a full orange bar, kind of counts as like a slow MP bar. So the mathematical calculation, I don't feel like trying to explain it, but essentially it won't use 3 full bars. It'll actually use about like 2 and like 2/3 of a bar, which will actually allow us to have more MP. Because this next fight, we're actually going to be using an ability that we got by beating Hook, the Ars Arcanum, which you just saw right there to kind of wipe out all those enemies. It uses 3 blocks of MP, so typically we would need 6 to use it twice, but we had to use it 3 times in the segment. We don't have 9 bars of MP. So what used to be done back in the day was we would use 1 and then cast an ether, so we could use 2 more here. But as long as you actually had it set for 2.5 earlier, we're actually be able to, if we have enough of an orange bar now that when we use it again, it's also not going to cast 3 blocks of MP. So we're going to start with this fight by parrying him and getting the limbs broken. And while they're stunned, we can actually use an Ars Arcanum to...
Nice guard. Oh, thank you.
It's fine. Yeah, we got bailed out. So we want to actually... This is opposite armor, and he... In its name, he rotates his feet for his legs and his legs for his feet. So however you want to call it, we actually want to parry him and kill his arm legs to actually just break those limbs. And once we break all the limbs, we can actually kill the main body. So he's just kind of doing this little cannon attack, and once he's done, we can kind of just really kill him. That's the main gist of the fight.
It's also the only fight where you can, for some reason, skip the cutscene during the fight.
I was going to say that. Alright. So now, realistically, that boss was meant to be done since before we went to Agrabah. But you're actually able to delay it all the way up until here. It does need to be done, unfortunately, otherwise this cutscene does not trigger. However, we save it for while we're at a really high level, we have a lot more tools, and we can kind of make that fight a joke.
Yeah, because this cutscene also needs Neverland to be finished, or rather you need to get the gummy piece that you get in Neverland. So we're just, again, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Instead of splitting it up, we're just doing it now. We do get arrow out of it, which will be used in the final segments of the run. But outside of that, you don't get anything notable out of it. You don't get a key rate, you don't get an offensive spell. You don't even really get much EXP. So there's absolutely no reason doing it early. You're also slower moving around because you don't have glide, meaning that you have a harder time accessing the rooftop where you have to ring the bell. It's just in every way faster to do this fight now rather than earlier.
Yeah, and we're actually heading towards our second to last world. We also, so we got the Dumbo summon. So we picked it up, but something that we didn't mention is not only do you have to actually find the summoned stone, you actually have to turn it into the fairy godmother. And that allows us to, she grants those summon stones into actual summons. So now we actually have access to the Dumbo summon. Now, for historically, this has been one of the most main pieces of the game and of the route in general. It has been discovered as of recent that you can actually, it's faster to skip grabbing Dumbo and using Dumbo overall. It's very slightly faster and it's quite a bit riskier. So I tell people if you're gonna do that, use it at your own risk. It's not really worth it unless if you're truly trying to go for world record level times, which world record is quite optimized in this game. And funnily enough, just a side note, you know, a lot of games are kind of only dominant by like one person, but this game has had quite a bit of people who've had world record. And there's been a whole video on the speedrunning history of it. It's a little older now, but it's quite, just kind of throw that little plug in there. It's very useful if anyone is interested in the history of how this game has been throughout the generations and all the different versions, but
Yeah.
alright. So we're in Hollow Bash. This first room, everything about this world is difficult, starting with this first room. There's some movement we're going to be doing. There's some safer things we could do by jumping, but it is slower to jump. We can dodge roll because that actually cancels our animation. However, it's easy to kind of fail these things where, as you can see, there are some moving platforms. So we have some cycles that we want to try to meet. And there's some instances where you'll see even there where Desa did not immediately dodge roll. We actually want to make sure that when we dodge roll off of a platform, we have enough distance away from the platform. Otherwise, Sora will turn around and grab it and completely change the camera angle and just kind of throw everything off. Yeah. And also, we haven't seen it yet, but hopefully we won't. There are some moments where Sora will grab a ledge and then just let go. And then that just kind of can throw things.
Okay, right. We didn't have fake ledge grab in Waterfall Cavern. He just didn't grab it at all.
Yeah.
I think that and Rising Faults are actually the only real opportunities for that to happen. I don't remember it happening anywhere else because it's part of the level geometry. If Sora tries to grab the like corner or a corner of geometry, just a wall that isn't even, that's when he'll let go of it. But there are only very few instances where that can really happen, where it even matters. So we're usually only seeing that in the Waterfall Cavern. By the way, we lost our party members again.
Yep. And our
Happens a lot. And our weapon, true. We're not gonna see the non-weapon a little longer.
But thankfully, we lost our strength. We didn't lose our magic.
Yes.
Which is like such a... I can't believe that they didn't even think about that. Well, somewhat they did, but nonetheless, we got a spell that we haven't seen. We got actually at the end of Halloween Town, Gravity. Now this spell, it's a percentage-based damage spell. So it's actually going to do a chunk of an enemy's HP. So this defender actually has a lot of HP, as you can see. We're actually going to cast a Gravity and then have Beast just roar and kill it. Otherwise, you'd be attacking at it for about 5 minutes. No damage. Or
Yeah,
you
we
do 1
didn't
damage.
we didn't mention, but outside of party members actually being a bit more impactful in this game, you can kind of micromanage them. There's for one the customization that you can do, where you can determine if the enemy AI should do certain things like attack normally a lot or use abilities, maybe throw items. Though in 9 out of 10 times, those presets are good enough. The only time is we saw that on Anti-Story, he saw me being in the menu a little longer. We changed it so that Peter Pan and Goofy were using their restorative options a lot more. Peter betrayed me a little on that, but that's... it happens.
That sounds like poetic justice.
But you can also micromanage them mid-battle, because you can... 1 second. Let me see if I can... Oh, I think I got the timing wrong. You can also call the party members with triangle while not being locked onto something, so they gather around you. And if you're locked onto something, you can tell them to aggravate or
attack,
be aggressive towards one specific enemy. They will run. They won't even like necessarily just use ranged weapons. They just go towards them and start wailing on them with spells and whatnot, which can be used effectively. For example, to have Beast slam that defender down earlier, or
as we saw on Oogie.
Yeah, in Oogie, for example, we can make sure that they're far away from the platform so they take longer to get back to the platform to not get extra hits in. There's actually a very niche application too where you can get beasts stuck, but I didn't get that to work. Riku.
Alright, so this fight is a very tricky fight. He does not really... Well, he gets stunned, but he kind of likes to attack at his own will, so what we're seeing Desa do right now is we're gonna try to put him to a wall, and then hopefully he stays combos. And as long as we can kind of keep parrying this little like counterattack that he has, we can kind of just get some damage out. And Desa's gonna be using the Ars Arcanum ability because it just does a flurry of hits and can rack up a lot of damage. And so if we can keep him at bay, we can kind of just shred through his HP bar. Same with Goofy. I don't think you have Tornado on him yet, but Goofy's Tornado ability also just does an insane amount of damage to some of these bosses, just enemies in general.
Yep.
But right now, that could be inconsistent because, again, we can't control exactly when Goofy does Tornado, if he will Tornado, or how many hits of that Tornado will land. So sometimes it's better to just opt for you, the player, just controlling how Riku gets hit. Otherwise, that was a pretty simple fight. It looked a little risky, but it kind of was good enough. He didn't really start doing crazy things. If he jumps, that's probably the worst thing because it's so weird. Some enemies have weird hitboxes as to how, or hurt boxes, I should say, where you can't really hit them cleanly. And when Riku jumps, the game wants, like, he makes it himself really hard to actually get hit. But that's, we didn't have to see that. So we're at this puzzle where the game wants us to do a series of different things. We didn't talk about trinities. We got that ability from when we initially got our party members after guard armor, and then we got some other trinities like the red one after Clayton, and we got to use some of that here. There are other trinities. We actually just learned the white trinity, which we will not be seeing use in the run. And then there's also, well, we got a green trinity as well. I almost forgot about that. And the yellow trinity. They have different purposes, but they can only be used with Donald and Goofy in your party. So there's these like little things that can help you find hidden rooms, extra items. But that's one of the instances in the run where we have to use it. We used the red trinity earlier, which is funny because we don't have to use that. That's trinity in English. That was that glitch that Desa was talking about earlier that saves quite a bit of time on the English version. But after doing some Tony Hawk Skater Pro movement, we got these little 4 emblems. We can unlock this door and get access to out of this castle and to be able to progress further.
Yep.
So, okay, yeah, you are grabbing the hasted G here. I was about to say, what do you do here? We're actually about to grab our last... Yeah, at this point, we're about to grab our last gummy piece. So we're actually going to be doing... I'm not sure. There's a couple ways to handle this next room. But you can decide to kill the first enemy. You can kill both enemies, or actually, depends on how you want to do it. But if you kill one of the enemies, you can actually land on that little elevator. It's a little, or lift. It's a little scary. But you can do some movement with your glide to despawn the enemy. We're going to grab this chest, which is our last haste 2G. I believe it's a faster boost that we get, and we can do some specific movement while we're flying or gliding to get past here without respawning the enemies, allowing us to access this lift. This part's really important because if you mess up and spawn enemies, you're fighting airborne enemies while you can fall. There's no barriers, and if you fall, we go all the way sent back to where we were at the start of this. Well, not the start of the... where we did the whole puzzle.
Yeah, you go back into the underwater, under the castle segment and have to climb back up. You can do a few things. You could do like a Dumbo trick to get back on your feet, but it's not good. Do not fall.
Yeah. So we have these wizards. Again? We're actually gonna kill... Well, ideally, we kill 2 while our party members kill the other one. And then... Oh, okay, so you were unequipping air combo plus. I wasn't paying attention. So Desa now has an extra hit on his air combo again. We're actually going to be using that for... That's going to be very important for all of the fights coming up here. We're coming up against another boss rush, which is quite difficult if you're playing the game casually. Even in the speedrun, it's quite difficult. We're gonna come across some Maleficent boss fight. We're really gonna just try to jump on her little platform and use Ars Arcanum, and then we're kind of gonna be doing empty air hits or air combos. It's very important that you do not do a finisher. If you stun her or stagger her, she will respawn and then get upset and teleport.
Yep.
And or disappear. And while she disappears, the whole platform, you can't hit her for about I don't know exactly how long. But it's not good. The platform runs away, you gotta wait for her to come back in, she spawns heartless. Yeah. So we're gonna make sure we don't do that. But we're coming up against our first use of Dumbo to actually do a little sequence break where the game wants us to kind of do a puzzle and activate these little switches so that way we can progress to other rooms and travel, go on the other side and climb up. But with Dumbo having the fly ability, we can actually go up as high as he can, dismiss, and as long as we're close to that ledge, we'll actually grab the ledge as we're falling off of Dumbo and to be able to skip all of that. Alright, but now we're coming up against the Maleficent fight. Our only hope is that Donald does not use gravity on her. If he does, he'll make her teleport instantly. So we got to use ours, and now we're going to be seeing Dessa just spam 3 air hits at a time. That's when we put back on the air combo plus ability. And once she's about half a bar of HP left, we're actually going to go back into ours and just kind of kill her. That's the fight. Now, we're going to come up against the second fight of this for Dragon Maleficent. This fight, though it may look trivial, it's quite difficult to actually pull off. We're going to be stun locking her with casting stop. Now, there's a couple little things to note. Enemies, it's like they thought about this, but didn't do too much to prevent it. So you can keep stopping bosses, and the more MP we have, so the more MP blocks we have, the longer it'll last. We have enough MP blocks at this point to actually get up to 6 hits off on her. If we can do this, we actually will generate enough MP during our combos to skip using an elixir on her, which will be good for endgame. However, bosses do not have the ability to be stunned the entire time. At a certain point, she will break free, and we're about to see her HP move, and that's how we know that she broke free. But as long as you stop her instantly after being broken free, that timer kind of resets, and then we can kind of kill her trend. And there we go. That was good.
There's a lot that goes into this fight. There are different versions of the fight as well. You can use items, you can go without items, you can do 5 hits or 6 hits. What they all share is that... what they all share is that stop loop. And there are different things to it as well. Like, for example, you want to make sure that the stop lands her head at a certain height, because that way Donald will be using gravities. But in this case, Goofy was very passive and barely tornadoed, which wasn't good. I will say that that's the reason I had to do the extra stop, but it probably is because I dropped 2 hits at the beginning of the fight. I did do an extra hit to make up for that at the very beginning, like at the very, very beginning, but it worked out. She didn't do like any amount of wiggling her head around too much. So that's fine.
I'll kind of explain this fight. So,
yes.
Yeah, this is now the second Riku fight, where thankfully he can actually kind of, he's more manageable here. So we're actually going to force him to counter, to retaliate, I should say. And during those retaliations, we're actually going to hit him with Ars Arcanums, and that's just going to do a lot of damage while he can't hit us, and we can just dish out a lot of damage. So once he powers up, we kind of want to catch him, and once we catch him, this is a very important move, we actually want to, after his 4th time getting staggered, he will retaliate, and so we kind of want to use that to clank our air combos on him. And as long as we can keep him staggered, he will not progress and do anything that we do not want him to do. Look at that beautiful face. Alright, that was a good fight.
Unbothered. Just living the life.
Alright.
Yep, this is
he has a very...
Like, when watching the run for the first time, or seeing this fight specifically, especially if you're already interested in potentially running this game, this is probably the first thing that you would want to learn just to loop Riku 2. Not only because the DM is long, but it's just a really cool fight to be able to just whip out. Like, you kind of want to get to a point where you just do it on a regular basis. Like, you can just do it without even thinking about it too much. But again, just like many other fights, it may look simple, but it's very specific in timing. You really want to make sure that you don't mistime your hits. There are also, again, different variations for it. You can use visual cues, or what I do nowadays is, for example, I do a 5-hit combo, so that the second hit is timed to where you can get staggered again. It's one of the cooler strats of this run that is also very satisfying to pull off.
Yeah, another thing, it's funny that you mentioned that. Something I want to say is, this game, it feels a lot better than watching it, I feel like. It looks like some things are just, okay, you just, like, it looks boring. Sometimes it looks like we're just doing, like, the same thing. Oh, you're just spamming this one attack, or, oh, he's just jumping and attacking. I promise you, almost every fight, like even just between doing the Dragon Maleficent and the Riku fight that we just saw, the Riku 2 fight, all of your air combo timings have to be different. They have to be done differently on all 3 of those fights.
Yep.
So it's really a matter of knowing. This is one of those runs that's super easy to get into, but it's really hard to master. Otherwise, everyone would be having crazy, really good times on this game. That's just not possible.
Like, it gets to the point that, for example, between Maleficent and Riku 2... Oh, stop a while. Hey. Oh, she was staring at me. So, between Maleficent and Riku 2, for example, you want to make sure that on Riku 2, you do the 5-hit combos at very specific timings, and you want to make sure that you initiate your combos with an overhead swing, while for Maleficent, you want to make sure that you start your combos with an uppercut. I'll play this. Wait, I'll play this. We have enough time. There's a little glitch you can do in this game. If you know this cutscene, you've not seen this probably, maybe. Sora can do some stuff. I'm not touching the controller.
Even Kyrie's shocked.
Yep. Sora's supposed to be there, but he's there. So, I don't remember when we discovered it. Oh, right there, you can see Skip. But you basically enter this cutscene in a state where you're supposed to go into the water, which makes him drop into the scene and just messes up the animations that are supposed to be called. So you see him do this, for example, practicing his swings. Any single time you see the low poly model, he'll just be playing some random animations. It's definitely one of the more infamous glitches in Marathon staple, kinda. It's not that long either, and it's easy to pull off too. What's pretty funny is that she also looks at Sora a lot of times. So you see her head just moving places she shouldn't be looking at. At the start of the cutscene, you also saw her head be like completely downward facing. But the cutscene does get a hold of itself once you get the high poly model again. Once you see the actual mouth movements too. There, suddenly everything's alright again. I think he does like one more thing.
I want to say he does. But actually, I can't. I think he does.
There we go.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, that's
back to shenanigans. You can actually tell whether you got the glitch too before the cutscene even starts. And going for the cutscene loses... I think it loses... Oh. Floating charm. Oh, he's right there! No, yeah, it loses barely any time to even go for this. She was talking to herself the whole time, by the way. It's all just in her head.
We gotta show this clip to feed all the theorists who say Sora's the master of masters.
Yep. He's there and he isn't simultaneously. The game just made a weird sound. I thought it crashed for a second. That would have been a funny conclusion to that.
I was about to say, I don't think I've ever seen it crash there.
I mean, the PC ports they used to be pretty prone to crashing in their first release, but by now there were enough patches where for the most part they're fine. There's still some games that are a little weird. The Steam release I think are actually more stable too, and then there's like some stuff that have been around in console days as well, but are just much more exaggerated in PC, like the map crash in Cage 2. Alright, final gummy menu.
Last gummy menu. And this is supposed to be like the longest gummy in the entire game. So in the speedrun we actually will we'll be quitting out early. I know as a kid I found this out the hard way. Actually, it wasn't me. I was watching my brother play, but he died on this gummy menu, and I remember I will never forget. He screamed, and I was like, "What happened?" Like, and then we found that he like was still able to get into Hollow Bastion, and then we were even more confused. This was such a long time. Like,
the way that this was found for the speedrunning community was actually very similar. Spike Vegeta was doing a run, because Spike Vegeta used to run a lot of the Cage games as well. And yeah, he was doing Cage 1 run. I think it was Proud on the PS2 release. Oh, I guess it was called Expert back then. Which he also died during the, I think it was the last segment of the gummy mission, and was ready to have lost like 2.5 minutes to then find out that the connection to the world is actually established. As with all the other gummy routes, this one is divided into multiple chunks. I think it's like 7 chunks or something like that. But you don't have to actually finish the last 2 chunks. Once you hit the second to last part of this, like right after this transition, you're gonna see the background changes, and now I can quit out of it.
I'm always scared to do that.
And you can still go to all of that. I don't know if it's intentional. It's been around since the very first release of the game. It may be a failsafe for, because I mean it is a kids game still. It's for 6 and up in Germany, for example. It might be difficult for kids, so maybe they were like, okay, if you can't get that far, we'll still allow you to actually play the game. Because it is a really long gummy mission. If you don't know what to do, it can actually be really difficult. Especially on like higher difficulties, you take an absurd amount of damage, and if you go for a small ship like we do, then it's, hallelujah, you die in like 2 or 3 hits. You definitely want a gun for those segments.
So as I mentioned, we have these platforms that are kind of on a set cycle. So you actually have enough time to actually go back and grab that chest, which gives you Mega Elixir. It's just a full heal of HP and MP to the entire party, which we'll be seeing those used for endgame coming down. So we're actually going to be coming up against our second use of Dumbo. Now this is, depending on who you're speaking to, some people call this the hardest one. You gotta do some specific movement to spawn as little enemies as possible, hopefully only that wizard. And then we actually use Dumbo to get up height and then grab that ledge. And so again, we can do some glide movement so we can then get to the switch and skip a lot of traversing.
Depending on how many enemies spawn, you want to take a wider arc. You have like this little elevator line that goes down. I usually want to fly around that one to basically make sure that if there were enemies, they will despawn at some point. Alright, another menu.
So in this menu, we are actually giving Goofy some of his very wonderful abilities. We're going to give him, I believe, Second Chance, MP Gift, which is going to allow him to pretty much be like an ether giving machine. He sacrifices 2 MP in this game, in this version, to give you 3 MP. So we're going to be using a lot of abilities, mostly our Ars Arcanum and Gravities later on, to deplete our MP for Goofy to then give us MP back.
Oh, the finisher whip! What beast got me. Cleaning up after my mess.
Yeah, so we actually do a menu to give Beast more crit chance, and we want him to crit with that roar because it hits everyone, and if it crits them, then they die as well. So it's a very nice little strat. We put him in the party,
crit, and I think he can't crit or something like that. Or maybe he can't crit with regular hits. There was something about the critical hits that Gator looked into, but I don't quite remember the outcome right now. We have like one guy in the community who's recently showed up. Whenever we have some kind of absurd or obscure question, like how do we get the fast fade out on Antisaur or something like that, out of nowhere he's just like, oh yeah, this and that is how it works. Well, everyone's like wondering how does it work, what are the specifics of it. This guy just shows up and he just knows. It's pretty useful for some of the aspects. And he also figured out some of the strats. I think he was also the one who found the setup to skip the first and third usage of Dumbo initially. As well as some other minor optimizations here and there. I think he also came up with the symbolist hook ship, for example. Did a lot. This defender is scary, by the way. So, there's a room. We're sharing a room between like two different segments. If we were to fall down there, you'd lose like half a minute or something like that because you'd have to go all the way back here. It's annoying. It has cost PBs of some. And you can go through that room faster by just rolling, but it's very scary.
Alright, so we're coming up against Behemoth. This is boss that'll become pretty much almost like an enemy later.
Sora!
So we want to be using our Arcanum ability to kind of dish out a lot of hits on the horn. He has this big old body, but we can only hit this tiny horn on the middle of his head. And he only really has about 3 attacks that he really can do. He can just step, he can jump, he can cause an explosion. I guess whenever he puts his head down, he kind of creates like these little energy blasts. He also can get his horn stuck out of the arena, which
I have not had that happen in a while.
yeah, that
and now he's doing his
just
laser.
happened.
No.
And we want Goofy to give us MP. All right, there we go.
He didn't.
So
He was busy
MP
doing
for it.
nothing. Anyway, yeah, that fight can be a mess. It's a surprisingly technical fight. The opening is consistent. And it's actually easy on English, because Behemoth acts immediately and doesn't have a little delay on him. While in Japanese, you have to wait a teeny tiny bit for him to act, which actually throws up the timing for a lot of things. But then, yeah, after the first time he he gets back up, he has a certain array of attacks he can choose from, and you just react accordingly. This is the second unskippable cutscene, by the way, and this one has been unskippable since the dawn of time. Like, there's never been a version that was allowing us to skip this cutscene. Not sure why. It is a fairly important cutscene. But I mean, there are more important ones. I don't know why they made this one unskippable. Probably, again, just something that they couldn't figure out in terms of code-wise. Like, there were probably some issues with this cutscene, so they didn't bother at some point.
I was gonna say, contrary to your point, I actually think this fight's easier on Japanese. Just saying. For all of the same reasons why you said it's harder. I think it's easier.
Really? I'm pretty sure I've seen more people struggle with it on Japanese than English, but also a very few amount of people actually knows how to do the fight. Like, completely correctly. It's like you and Spider, I think.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's just the nature of how this game works. A lot of strats look very simple, but depending on how you move, there's just a lot. Your damage output that you can get, it can just change a lot of outcomes on the fight. But overall, like, again, this is a game that, for the most part, anyone, and I truly do mean anyone, would be able to be good enough to get through the run. But to master it, to get a really good time, there's so much that you have to learn to do. So that was one of our, not our last menu, but this is our last world. So we're coming up against some of the last few menus. We got a very good accessory from beating him, some Mega Arts, and I believe it gives us what, HP, strength, and defense?
I'm not sure about defense. It definitely gives us HP and strength. Actually,
Gives
no,
us
it does
everything.
defense. There's defense, yeah.
But we put that on, and we actually, so earlier we actually had more MP, but we put that that accessory on because we're gonna want more strength. And what this is gonna allow us to do is when we get to these first couple fights in this last world, we're gonna come against some nasty enemies, and having this extra or having these accessories on us is gonna be able to make these fights just nicer. We're still gonna have to be hoping and praying.
Enemies called invisibles that, contrary to their name, are very much visible.
Until they're not.
Until they're not, and that's when you know you're messed up. So yeah, we had that MP item equipped earlier just because we already were hitting damage cap, but the damage cap is much further up for regular enemies, so we go as much.
Yeah. So when these enemies spawn, we're actually going to try to catch them with some gravities to keep them in place.
Oh, I got this guy. Oh, this is a disaster.
Yeah, they're pretty mean. I don't know what else to really say. We want to keep them at bay because if they start moving, they like to jump away, and then if they jump to a corner, in most cases, they'll actually plant their sword into the ground, go invisible, and yeah, do an attack that kind of traps whoever they're targeting, and then they will like close in on you. Yeah, so it's very easy to see how quickly things can kind of fall apart. In this with these enemies. If anyone has ran this game, you know that like you're gonna lose a run to them. It's just going to happen.
Not just one.
Yeah, that's true. You're going to lose runs. Now we come across these enemies. These are angel stars. So they have less HP, but they have the ability to block if they take too much damage or too much time has gone by, and they also can
duplicate.
I was gonna say reproduce.
Yep.
I guess duplicate's a better word.
Maybe reproducing would be better because it's not like they share HP. They just create a completely new, refreshed version of themselves. It does take quite a while for them to do that, but it can cause a lot of chaos.
Yeah. So earlier, this is doing a different item route. Well, there's not say different, but there's multiple item routes that you can do. And depending on what strats you do, if you had to use Elixir earlier, but Dessa opted to skip a Blue Trinity early in Hall of Bastion to pick up some extra, to pick up some other chests that don't really lose time to really grab. And that's why we're seeing some items. He's just picking up some.
I forgot the cottage! No! Wait, okay, wait.
Elixir, Mega Elixirs. I didn't even think about that.
I just picked it up and I forgot to use it!
So we wanted to have more MP to kind of use more gravity, because this is a big enemy that has a big HP bar. That wasn't bad.
No cottage needed.
Yeah, it almost makes me wonder if it's truly needed.
Actually, yeah, I don't think we need the cottage.
I'm thinking the same, honestly. So typically we want to have more, we want to refresh our MP, so that way we can just spam more gravities on him, and every gravity does less and less and less damage, but because he has so much HP, we're doing like a percentage base magic spell on him, we can just reduce his HP to almost where he has like the amount of HP as a regular normal enemy before we really start to hit him. Alright, so what is this called? The World Terminus? That's not important. But this is kind of like a, not a homage. It kind of gives you like a piece of every world that's in this game. But the worlds that you have not sealed the keyhole have these blue portals that mean you have to enter in order to actually progress. It's kind of the game's way of punishing you, I guess. If you try to skip some things, they make you at least be introduced. I don't want to say
punish, but at the very least you get to see what you missed out on.
Yeah.
Though as long as you didn't close the keyhole, I guess you still have to do this.
Yeah. So we're going to be seeing our next instance use of Simba. This fight has a lot of waves. These enemies are air soldiers that are very mean, and we don't like them. So we're going to use Simba to kind of wipe them out completely. And this, in my opinion, is 100% worth the summon time, because this fight is not nice at all. Something different. Oh, what were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna say the person we talked about, Gator, who's been making up some new and alternative strats. He also found a strat to do made a strat for that room to be done without Simba, but it's not fun. It's not a good strat. It's faster, but it's not fun to do. It's very complicated and RNG.
Yeah, so we're seeing the use of Atlantica. So Sora has a different form in this way. He's like a merman. And at this point, our movement's kind of stifled. We act as if we're almost only attacking on the ground. So our swings are really...
Whoa, why did I go here? Whoa, wait. Go back.
I was about to say.
Go back.
We are... we are exploring new areas.
We have seen that one. We don't need to see it again.
Alright, so we're about to end this little section of going to all the worlds. That was a bit of 100 Acre Wood, but now we're in Hollow Bastion, and we're going to be coming up against our favorite enemies again. Once we are really down to about 3 bars of MP, we're going to try to use an Ars Arcanum and hit as many enemies as we can and kill anyone. Hopefully you don't leave the room. Okay, there we go.
As long as you're
so
locked in,
enemies
you
can push you up.
but
That's
they
true.
can push
That
you
is
out,
true. Yeah, if you're not locked on, they can push you out of the room, and then when you spawn back in, they're all at full HP again. Okay. That's fine. So, we are now, once we finish this portal, there's nowhere else to go. This portal changes. We can jump down this hole, and now we're coming up against the Chernobog boss. This is the first instance where we are forced to fly and have combat. Earlier, we had the opportunity to fight Hook this way, but obviously you saw we choose not to. I'm not the biggest fan of flying combat. I don't think Desa is either. But these change your air combo timings. It's just kind of wonky to throw a boss in this section while you're forced to play like this, and it can do some big AoE fire attacks like this, and if you don't hit him to a certain HP gate, he will be able to unleash that. And so after this, he goes into a different phase, where now he's going to start pushing you away, and then start to cycle between 2 different attacks that are very difficult to deal with if you're playing casual, especially on the harder difficulty. But thankfully, on beginner, we're actually able to kill him fast enough to where we don't have to see. One of the things... I think you're fine.
Yeah.
One of the things that we equipped in Hollow Bastion earlier was actually Leaf Bracer. That's a new ability added for Final Mix only, which allows you to actually cast a cure even if you're getting hit, and the cure will still go off. Without that, that makes this fight a lot scarier. But we're going to be kind of abusing that to try to get as much damage as we can, and without having to run to safety, we can just kind of mash out a heal, because as I mentioned at the start of the run, when you cannot get chained hit, so as long as you try to heal shortly after you just got hit, even if you're at almost no HP, you will be fine. That was a good catch.
I noticed, like, wait, I skipped the Trinity, I need to do this.
So what Desa did there was he actually equipped a Mega Elixir on himself. We're actually going to be... This is the longest fight in the game. So it starts us off fighting a Behemoth for the 3rd time. Could be a 4th later. If you do some other optional things. But once we defeat this enemy, we want to actually throw the Mega Elixir. So we're actually set up against... This is like, what, a 9-wave fight? Something like that. It's very long.
Funnily enough, 7 again.
Is it 7? Well, I guess counting the beat. But the game starts us off fighting Dark Balls, so they die in 2 fires. So we're gonna kind of try to use them to. We just want to get them out as fast as we can. Why? If we get too far away from them, they will go into like their invisible state and follow us. So we're actually going to make use of calling our party members, going to the door. We kind of want to hope that they stay and all the invisibles will come to us. And then we actually want to do a unique setup. We want to kill all of the enemies while having both of our party members alive and having, is it 3 or 2 enemies? So then we can cast Simba. And if you do this correctly, you can actually use Simba to get rid of the rest of the fight. We're going to be charging up the meter all the way to the top, and once it's top, it's going to be strong enough to actually one-shot the enemies. We did get some abilities. We equipped the cheer ability on Donald and Goofy earlier throughout the run, and that actually allows you to have a longer summon gauge. And the summon is also tied to your NP stat, so if you have more NP, we're also able to have a stronger charge and a longer charge. So we use this in combination to have enough Simba to get to this last phase, the last wave, and then... What happened? Oh.
There's like a free item drop.
I saw. Alright, that was good.
Yeah, I am surprised it went well because I messed up a little bit and didn't end up using an arse, but that was totally fine, I guess. Right.
Alright. So with this menu, we're actually going to go back to our physical setup. We put back on that we're going to have less MP, but because we are not needing to use anything like Simba anymore, we can actually start being able to hit damage cap. We put on an additional air combo plus, so that's going to allow us to get more empty swings that we'll be taking advantage of later. And now we're coming up against the last boss rush, last final sequence of the run. We're starting off with this first fight against Ansem, which is, this sometimes feels like a 3v1. So we really want to kind of push him into a corner. But as I mentioned a couple times throughout this run, our party members can push enemies to where they do what they want. So, yeah. Ideally, we want to keep him stunned, and he'll always back away from where we have him positioned, so we can kind of control where he goes. However, there are some moments where if he has a slight moment, he will kind of break out. And other than this, we just want to kind of keep this loop. Once he enters his orange bar, he has opportunity to phase push and start using his submit attack, where he will grab someone, and the guardian on his back will kind of take control over someone. And while he's in this state, he will deal a lot of damage to you, and he puts up this little barrier, this energy barrier that will deal a lot of damage to you while the guardian is attacking someone else. We can kind of use this to our advantage. If a party member does get trapped, as long as it's not us, we can kind of use this to whales and get some damage out of it. That was not a bad fight, even though it looked like it got a little... Yeah, it kind of started off a little rough, but he was able to get in control. And getting an early submit like that is not bad, especially if he doesn't catch you. So we're going to, this is our last chance that we can menu in the game. So we're going to take advantage of this. We're going to put on, I forgot what you put on. MP Haste. Elixir, oh yeah, we stock ourselves with items. But we're going to make sure Goofy has his abilities for endgame as well. And now we're coming up against this boss that we came across in the very beginning. Same kind of boss. He starts off with a different attack. But we just kind of wail on him. And this is where having the additional air combo plus really comes in handy, because we kind of get a lot of 4-hit strings that will do a lot of damage and quick succession. So now we have the second fight with him. So this time we are solo. And we're really gonna just try to make him bring out the guardian. He will do that after flinching up to 3 times. Actually up to 5 times. He will do that, and once we do that, we can actually kind of start wailing on him. And once his HP gets to the yellow bar, okay, there we go.
I remember just now how it works.
So we want to skip what's called a desperation move, where he kind of becomes, he's invulnerable for quite some time. Let's see it. There we go. So we got to skip both of the desperation attacks. This fight's really, really complicated to explain, but once we're able to get him past that half point, as long as after every 3 attacks, he will try to use his desperation attack. We can actually stun him with our combos if we time them correctly. It's a nice strat. I wonder who made that. We're able to pull off. And most strats, we used to use the Ars Arcanum ability to stun him because it has a flurry of hits, and it was kind of easy to time to make sure that you can just interrupt him before he can try to do his desperation move. But I was able to find a way that's pretty consistent to actually skip the game without needing to worry about saving or using your Ars Arcanum. So that allows for less MP management. You can do some faster strats. There's just a lot of stuff. Now we're on a forced flying segment again. He has only really like 2 attacks he tried to do in the beginning. Depending on those, they actually see how easy this fight will be. As long as our damage is up, we can actually skip an attack and start to get a lot of damage. So he kind of starts setting up a whole bunch of lasers. As I said, we have that leaf brace ability that allows us to attack. And so Des is... Okay, he didn't get it. There's an actual cutscene skip you can do there. We can actually prevent that cutscene from happening and kind of put you straight into this fight. Saves a little bit of time, but there's actually you can get penalized if you do it wrong. You'll actually have a white screen of death where you're not allowed to see anything until you actually finish this fight. So you have to do this fight completely blind. Alright, so that's the Shadow Core. We're done. We're cruising through this end game. We're coming up what people call artillery. It's a fight with 2 big enemies in the middle and 3 small enemies. All they do is shoot projectiles, but it's actually quite deadly. So this is also one of the things from the very beginning of the game where Destiny used all those HP, the strength ups and the defense ups. They come into play, especially in final fights. It allows you to take an extra hit and makes this stuff a lot less scary because you have the extra hit. So that was good artillery. It started off getting a little scary. We're going to be entering this portal. We're going to be reuniting with Goofy, fighting a bunch of Dark Balls. So what we're really going to be trying to do at this point is just get our MP back and just spam fire. These Dark Balls will die in 2 fires, and when enough of them get close enough, we're going to actually just start using an Ars Arcanum, and that's going to hit as many enemies. During the initial flurry of hits, Sora cannot take hit, or take any damage, or get hit. So we kind of use that to our advantage to just kind of hit as many enemies as we can while they're close to us. And once we're done with this, we're going to make sure we just kind of throw any items that we have to have some MP. We want to go into this fight kind of with some full HP on ourselves and potentially Goofy. Now we're going to be coming across this fight. Depending on what you want to call it, most of the community calls this face. This fight, you just kind of wail on its head and it spawns lightning where you're standing. So we're going to be kind of doing a lot of moving around. And if we have, we got the arrow ability, our magic spell from completing the opposite armor fight. We can use this, it helps have us take reduced damage. And this will allow us to, because there are going to be some times where we're just going to get hit on this fight. And it allows us to take less damage enough so we don't have to keep backing off and trying to heal ourselves. And otherwise, we're going to be kind of keeping this little sequence. Once it gets into its second phase, it's going to start having less lightning spawning on top of him because he's going to do this like little roaring attack. And from here, we can kind of get more combo strings out at once. All right.
Yeah, that kind of fight
almost
shows how long Runner has been playing the game because those lightnings are actually 100% consistent when they spawn, and you kind of just get a feel or internal timer for when those things happen or not.
Yeah, and hopefully we have one more instance where Invisibles can mess with us, and that was perfect. Absolutely perfect. Alright, so, yeah, poor Donald has been stuck here fighting Invisibles all by his lonesome, so I don't know how he's still here.
He has gravity, he's fine.
That's true, you're right.
He also has stop,
and stop.
Which he hasn't used in a malicious way, so he's fine.
Yep. And then we have this core, which is kind of not really a fight. But after this, we kind of want to make sure that we go in with full HP and MP on ourselves. If our party members can also have MP, that'll also be nice because we want Goofy to use Tornado while we're attacking Ansem on this final fight. And that way, Goofy will just start racking the damage because we're going to keep getting hit by these lasers. So in an ideal, perfect world, Donald lives and he can heal us. But if Donald's dead, then we'll have to heal ourselves. And at this point, Ansem is charging this big black hole attack. And we're just going to try to get as much damage as we can before this black hole starts pulling us back towards the middle of the arena. Yep. And it's going to shoot these little projectiles at us. We want to make sure that we can actually cast a Mega Elixir, so that way we can bring our party members back, and then Goofy's going to help us kill off Ansem. And the time should be in about 5 seconds.
Yeah, time's coming up. Once the EMP is gone. Wow! I was so confident that I was gonna parry that. I really had to go out with the death. I was so confident in parrying that. Oh, whatever. Fight was fun, let's see.
I was about to say. So fun you want to do it again. Alright. So, same thing as before. Donald did die, so we're probably gonna have to do it ourselves. Bakushi has more MP this time, so we can probably get more damage out. And yeah, once
really. But when you're not looking at the black hole in the back, you can actually go and get a few hits.
That's true. Alright. So now time is actually coming up in about 5 seconds. Yeah, that's the end of the run. We just kind of wail on it.
You can't see his face because there's this whole explosion going on. But, yeah. That is Kingdom Hearts Final Mix. We mentioned it a few times throughout the run, and I'll gladly reiterate it. This game is, even if it doesn't maybe look as interesting, it's very fun to play because actually having to execute all this stuff is pretty fun. And it's very, very easy to get into. Beginner is absolutely not punishing of a difficulty. You can really quickly rack up decent times. Now, going for record is a different story. This game is really technical, like many other games. But just getting into like the KH series or speedrunning ARPG as a whole, or JRPG, this is really good for that, I would say. It was my first run, and I think I've gotten pretty good mileage out of it. And so far, most people who've ran this game have had a good time with it too. Yeah. There's also a community Discord, of course, if you guys want to learn this or other Kingdom Hearts runs, so make sure to check that out on the speedrunner.com page. So do you have anything else you want to say?
Not really. You kind of said it all. Honestly, I would say join. If you want to learn the run, there's a lot of helpful guides, people who will be glad to help. And yeah, it's very, very fun. Very, very fun.
Absolutely. Alright, that'll be it from us. Thanks for having us, and have fun with the next run. Take care.
Take care.